Hey Kentucky, this is Mary Jo Perino. Tonight, UK basketball's fall schedule is nearly complete. Governor Matt Bevin's pension plan continues moving through the legislature, and we'll get a preview of the Fancy Farm political picnic. All that and more next on Hey Kentucky. Welcome to Hey Kentucky, presented by Wendy's. I'm Mary Jo Perino, Drew Franklin, my co-host tonight. It's much cooler in here than it was at the Barbasol.
Friday was a little warm. It's good to be in here in the air conditioning with you.
We are not dripping with sweat, so good stuff. We begin with Kentucky basketball, as the 2019-2020 non-conference schedule is now complete outside of the Big 12 SEC Challenge game. 5 additional games have been announced, highlighted by a new multi-team event, along with the finalization of a 2-year deal with Georgia Tech. UK will host 4 games in the new BBN Showcase, starting with Utah Valley on November 18th. Mount St. Mary's will come to town November 22nd, Lamar on November 24th, and UAB on the 29th. All 4 games will be played at Rupp Arena. Georgia Tech will also visit Rupp on December 14th, and in November of next year, UK will play the Yellow Jackets in the Holiday Hoopsgiving. Drew, the Georgia Tech game, do you think that's a little nod to Josh Pastner from Cal?
That's definitely Cal giving a game to a former assistant. But I can tell you the season ticket holders in Rupp Arena are not going to be impressed by the new games announced today. One more marquee non-conference opponents. I don't think Georgia Tech's going to please them, so I would expect some complaining.
Absolutely, and they're not even good.
No, not at all.
Like, I was reading some stuff today. They don't even want Josh Pastner there anymore. Yeah. So maybe this was Cal's way of extending an olive branch to him. But yeah, the home schedule not great.
Luckily, the SEC slate will cover it. There's going to be some good home games. If people want a good before December schedule, it is not looking pretty, and these games they announce aren't good.
Remember when we lost to UAB, though?
That was fun.
On that back?
Lots of fun. Had a blast.
Yeah. Always good. All right, now let's turn to UK football. As this year's SEC Media Days are now behind us, the depth chart hasn't been released, but key positions on the team were addressed last week. One group still up in the air is the defensive backfield, where the Cats lost a talented group of players to the NFL. 2 names coming up at the cornerback position are junior college transfer Brandon Eccles and sophomore Cedric Dort. No one, obviously, can replace Josh Allen, maybe ever, but Coach Mark Stoops hopes Florida State transfer Xavier Peters will be allowed to play immediately. On the offensive side of the ball, the pressure to replace the production of Benny Snell will fall to quarterback Terry Wilson, wide receiver Lynn Bowden, and A.J. Rose, who will lead the rotation of running backs. Drew, obviously the defensive backfield is really, like, that's the biggie for me.
I think the secondary decides the entire season.
Yeah.
You know, people keep talking about losing Josh Allen. I think the linebackers are going to be fine, especially if they add Peters, who you just mentioned. Lost Benny Snell, has all the records, a legend. They lose him, but I think they're fine with the guys coming in behind him. But the secondary, they have a lot of pieces to replace, and really none of these guys have any experience outside of maybe Devontae Robinson. That can decide the season how well those guys play.
And we had really big guys in the secondary the last few years.
They're wearing NFL jerseys now.
Yes, for a reason. Stoops that's like his specialty when he came in, you know, and still here. You've got to think that he's got to like some of these guys coming up. They may be young and inexperienced, but he's got to like their talent level.
And he got some good JUCO additions, but those guys have never played real college football in the SEC. They're going to have to step out there and be expected to perform right away. So it's going to be a little trial by fire with those guys. Hope they do well.
Do you think Xavier Peters will be able to play this year?
He should. I think he has a legitimate case, but as we know with the NCAA, they always do the opposite of what we expect.
Yeah, what is legitimate? All right, in Frankfort, the governor's pension bill will go up for a vote in the Senate soon after being voted out of committee today. Lawmakers in the House passed House Bill 1 yesterday. Now it's in the hands of the Senate, where they say they have the support. Although some lawmakers are not in favor of the bill because they believe it breaks the inviolable contract. That's the contract state employees have with the Commonwealth ensuring their pension benefits. Even if the bill does pass, there are already mentions of possible legal challenges, but Republican leaders believe it will hold up in court.
These Democrats, they don't like Governor Bevin. They don't like the direction we're taking the state.
The Senate is expected to vote tomorrow, but Democratic senators say they will put up a fight. Drew, it's got more support in the Senate than in the House, so I think even with putting up a fight, I think this is going to go through.
It does look like it'll go through, but the votes, you know, is pretty close. Not a lot of confidence in it, and you mentioned potential lawsuits on the way. That'll definitely be happening because thousands of people are going to be affected by this, and a lot of them are not in favor of it. I wish they'd still consider other options, but you know, Bevan, he wants his way. It looks like this one's going to go through this week.
Andy Bashir is for sure going to take him up on this legal battle because
we're just getting started with this.
Yeah, not only just because of the legality of it, but because of the gubernatorial race. I just think it's far from over.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, far from over. All right, in other news, the University of Kentucky is going through some growing pains. The school says the next incoming class is slated to be the largest in school history, with more than 5,400 students planning to enroll. There's also a record number of students returning to live on campus for another year, and that's created a housing shortage. The university has converted common areas and RA rooms to accommodate students, but RAs say not only does that create more stress for them, it can be hard for the students they're looking after as well.
When you have more students, that's less time that you can talk to each student, and sometimes those individual conversations can mean like the difference between life and death for a student.
UK says while they're still in the process of assigning a room to everybody, they will be meeting with RAs. The university says the students who already have rooms will not be moved. Drew, it shows how nice these dorms have become, because I couldn't wait to get off campus. I didn't go to UK, but I mean, most people couldn't wait to get out of the dorms.
It's a shame they're overbooked. They're having to build makeshift dorm rooms, but I've seen some of them, and I don't want to sound like the grumpy old man back in his day, but the dorms they're building to accommodate these people that have overbooked are nicer than anything that was on campus just 10 years ago. So, I mean, sucks that it happened. I hope it all gets worked out, but it's not like they're putting them out to sleep by the dumpster in sleeping bags. They're being well taken care of, it looks like.
Yeah, and people wanting to stay on campus, you would think as a university you want that. You want your students there, you want them paying the money for the dorms, and it looks like they're worth every penny.
They look like nice hotels, some of those dorms, so I don't feel too bad.
Yeah, it's not the Red Roof Inn. No offense to the Red Roof Inn.
Not at all. Love it.
A UK doctor, by the way, is raising some troubling questions about the effort to curb America's addiction to the painkiller Oxycontin. Dr. Rafer Brown says he was in charge of a panel of outside experts who were advising the FDA on opioids that have been redesigned to avoid snorting or injecting by patients. But Brown says his panel was not allowed to see data on whether the new version of Oxycontin reduces abuse, despite dozens of attempts to get that data from either the drug's maker or the FDA. Now Brown's tenure as an FDA advisor has ended, but his concerns about the lack of information have not. Drew, this opioid crisis is, I feel like we're at a tipping point here, where I think things are going to start getting a little bit better, but you need to be transparent.
Yeah, they remodeled or reformulated it to make it less, I guess you can inject it in other ways. But if that worked, why aren't they showing us that it worked? It's almost like it didn't work, the fact that they're being so shady, mysterious with the numbers. This guy who's been out of Kentucky, been trying to fix this forever, said he's 20, 30 times requested the info. They still won't give it to him. Something's fishy about that.
It's always fishy when there's no transparency.
Yeah.
All right, up next on Hey Kentucky, one of the state's biggest political events is nearly upon us. Les Fugit will give us a preview of what to expect at this year's Fancy Farm Picnic when we return.